All right, guys, welcome to the show. I got an awesome one for you today. So we're going to be talking about Marianne Williamson. It is all but official that she will be challenging President Biden in the upcoming Democratic primary. There's a lot to say about it. We got the reaction. We got some surprising twists in the story that actually, believe it or not, cut in the direction of Marianne Williamson. Biden has basically picked a fight with a state party that could come back to bite him in the butt. So we'll talk about that. I also have Vivek Ramaswamy is a new declared presidential candidate. They call him the CEO of Anti-Woke Incorporated. This guy's endless entertainment. I got a bunch of videos for you. We'll dive into his record. We'll talk about all that stuff. And then later on in the show, we have the right-wing civil war continues. Laura Ingraham and Steve Bannon go to war with Marjorie Taylor Greene because she called for a national divorce recently, which is basically just saying, let's split up the United States of America. Turns out there's quite a bit of dissent on the right to that idea. Now, Sean Hannity sort of was going along with the idea from Marjorie Taylor Greene, acting like it's a good idea, but you have other right-wing figures who are like, hell no. So we'll talk about that. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it here. So, the smears are already starting against Marianne Williamson. This is not a surprise. We expect it. We also expect it's going to get way, way worse as time goes by. We know that the Democratic establishment and their media goons like to play dirty, but this is very, very early in the process for the smears to start. So here's MSNBC. They're going to talk about how it is now all but official that Marianne Williamson will run against Joe Biden, and we'll dissect this. Here we go.
Heading into 2024, President Biden has drawn his first Democratic challenger. Best-selling self-help author Marianne Williamson has announced her plans to run for president. Williamson, a progressive Democrat, ran for the White House in 2020, but she dropped out of the race just before the primaries and caucuses got underway. Joining us now to discuss this, White House reporter for Bloomberg, Kayla Gardner. All right, Kayla, Marianne Williamson aside, does the White House anticipate other candidates jumping into the Democratic primary the longer that Joe Biden does not say he's running?
Now, let me interject here to say there's literally no way anybody who has a connection to the Democratic Party will run other than Marianne Williamson. Why? Because they're all good little boys and girls who wait their turn and stay in line and play patty cakes with the establishment. So it's Marianne Williamson, and that's it. It's one-on-one, which, again, is the best-case scenario for Marianne Williamson, even though, of course, it's a massive, massive uphill climb either way.
I don't think the White House ever expected to get a serious challenger, and I wonder if they would even consider Marianne Williamson a serious challenger at that.
Didn't even get her name right. Marianne Williamson is what she just said. I don't know if the White House will take her seriously. Yes. Remember all the talk from the Democrats about how democracy is so important. We're saving the country from Donald Trump. He's doing an assault on democracy. We believe in democracy. Yes. Then all of a sudden, we try to exercise democracy, and they're like, democracy! You want to challenge the guy? Bro, he's an ironclad candidate. You can't beat him. It's not like he's 85 years old and can't complete a single sentence. Anyway.
And I think they really risk here giving her too much attention, but it is going to be somewhat of an annoyance to have her out there openly criticizing Joe Biden. She's
risk giving her too much attention, and she's an annoyance. Hold on now, wait a second. You guys are the media. Aren't you supposed to call balls and strikes? Instead, it's almost like they're giving advice to the White House. They risk giving her too much attention. And she's quite annoying. Risk giving her... She's a challenger to Biden. By definition, they should have to give her attention if they believe in democracy. She's going to be an annoyance. She's an annoyance. Look at how smug they are. Look at how condescending they are. This is how they manufacture consent, right? This is what they do. It's you better not step outside of the bounds of the Overton window. If you do, you're going to get viciously mocked and derided and treated like a fool. They're insulting everybody's intelligence. By the way, a poll just came out the other day. Only 25% of Americans want Joe Biden to run again. 25%. So based on that poll, shouldn't you be out here saying, hey, great, Biden as a challenger. This is, the majority of Americans want to replace him. Well, here we go. Now here's another option. Nope. They're playing defense for the Democratic establishment and the status quo.
Already said she's disagreed with his view on the economy, which we know is always a huge issue for voters. It was in the midterms and will likely be again in 2024. And so they risk giving her attention, but also having to address this very real criticism that Biden has faced, that he is disconnected with everyday Americans who are going to the grocery store and seeing high prices on eggs and continue to feel the effects of inflation. And so it's certainly an annoyance to them, but I don't think we're expecting any other prominent Democrats, especially anyone holding public office, to jump into this race.
You're right. People should just remember the role Jill Stein played in 2016 for an example of a nuisance that someone on the left can be for a Democrat.
They brought up Jill Stein. Jill Stein ran in the Green Party. And what did she get? 2%, 1%, something like that. Some very low percentage of the vote. Marianne Williamson is running as a Democrat. They can't make the argument anymore of, it was a spoiler effect. They trot out that spoiler effect argument. And by the way, it's a dubious argument at best anyway, but they trot it out when talking about third parties. This is Marianne Williamson running as a Democrat. Now, by the way, why is she running as a Democrat? I think the answer is very simple. She wants to win. If you run as a third party candidate and you get 4% of the vote, you're doing phenomenally well compared to most modern attempts at a third-party candidacy. She doesn't want 4%. She doesn't think we have 40 or 50 years to build up a different party infrastructure in order to get the change that we need. She thinks we need the change right now. And Bernie Sanders, for all of his flaws, he got, I think it was 47% of the vote in the Democratic primary. Now, I'm no genius, but 47% sounds a hell of a lot higher than 2%. So she's running as a Democrat because she wants to win. But they're still using these bogus arguments of a spoiler effect. Remember what happened when we paid attention to Jill Stein? In other words, here's the argument. In other words, Marianne Williamson is going to help Donald Trump and the Republicans. That's what Well, hold on. If 25% of voters want Biden to run again, why can't you say Biden is helping Republicans and Trump? He's not beloved. He's not liked. He's not what Americans want. So why wouldn't you use that same logic to say, well, obviously we need to make a change, or else you're helping Trump and the Republicans? They would never make that argument. Because again, their job on MSNBC is to play defense for the corporate Democrats. But this gets really, really interesting, guys. This is my favorite fact of the day that I'm about to share with you. So look at this. In the New Hampshire Journal, Pappas decries, quote, total betrayal by Biden, says New Hampshire Democrats will invite primary challengers. Wow. So now understand something. New Hampshire Democratic Party. I mean, they are establishment Democrats. So why are they mad at Biden? Why are they effectively turning on Biden? Well, they're turning on Biden because Biden turned on them. Because Biden and the DNC decided, how can we rig the 2024 primary? Oh, I have an idea. Why don't we put South Carolina as the first contest? South Carolina is a red state. It's a red state. And the only reason Biden and Democrats want to put that first is because that's the state that saved Biden's chances in 2020. So they're trying to front load it, get a big win in South Carolina, so they can say, oh, no, there's nothing to see here. Nobody can challenge him. Look, the vote was overwhelming in South Carolina. Look, he won South Carolina again, and it was by a wide margin. What are we even talking about here? But in New Hampshire, they are the first primary. And get this, guys, it is written in their state constitution that they have to be the first primary. So Biden and the DNC strong-armed New Hampshire and said, first my ass, we're kicking you out. And we're putting South Carolina first. Now, in New Hampshire, they know why Biden did this. They know their BS arguments about, we care about diversity, which is why we're going with South Carolina. They know that's a hollow argument. They know it's not true. They know that they're lying when they say that. The only reason they're putting South Carolina first is because South Carolina was a good state for Biden. So they are betrayed by Biden and the DNC and the corporate Democrats. And so they haven't even conceded like, oh yeah, we're going to let South Carolina go. The DNC can make whatever rules they want. It's written in the New Hampshire state constitution that they go as the first primary. So they could run the primary without any input whatsoever from Biden and the DNC and say, okay, stop us in court. Stop us in court. Go ahead, try. It's written in our state constitution. We get to go first. So there's a fight brewing between South Carolina and New Hampshire. In fact, we're in the midst of it. But all of the ire of the New Hampshire Democrats is now turned on Joe Biden. And now they are welcoming primary challengers. And they're saying, maybe we'll use our institutional power here in the state of New Hampshire to get some other Democrat across the finish line. Well, if the only other Democrat running is Marianne Williamson, well, that makes a little interesting pickle, doesn't it? That's a nice, cute little paradox or conundrum now, isn't it? So now Marianne Williamson may have some very, very powerful allies in the state of New Hampshire in the Democratic Party, and they may try to help her beat Joe Biden in New Hampshire. And then all of a sudden, we're off to the races. Marianne Williamson snagging an early primary victory from Joe Biden? Then the narrative changes. Then it's like, oh my God, maybe Biden is historically weak. I can't overstate how important this is. Not only do you have U.S. Congress people saying this was a total betrayal from Biden, but the entire Democratic machine in New Hampshire is now done with Biden. They are done with him because he stabbed them in the back. Wow. This just got a hell of a lot more interesting now, didn't it? This got a hell of a lot more interesting. So the reaction to Marianne Williamson is exactly what you'd expect from these sorts of people. Claude Taylor here, who is a standard, resistance Democrat. I hope the Democrats will keep her off as many ballots as possible and allow her entry to 0 debates. This is not a serious candidate. And he's sharing the article from the New York Times. Marianne Williamson says she will run for president again. Again, interesting. You are the same people who were talking about democracy. Yes, democracy. That's what we believe in. We're pro-democracy. The other guys are anti-democracy. Except now, in this particular instance, I'm not so hot on democracy. Well, let's see what the reactions are in here. From, maybe for Congress, MAEBE for Congress. Although you may not be familiar or aware, Marianne Williamson is a very serious candidate, one who has helped many down-ballot progressive candidates. Her anti-corporate messaging is something everyone should appreciate. Holding the status quo accountable is what we need. Somebody else says, sounds like you hate democracy. Somebody else says, that's why he's a Democrat. I'm not a Marianne fan, but this kind of sentiment is exactly why Democrats deserve to be challenged and deserve to lose. Imagine publicly denouncing democracy like this. The people are serious about change. I understand why that threatens your privileged perch, Claude. This is extremely anti-democratic. Quote, I hate democracy would have gotten the job done in fewer words. I'll be happily casting my vote for Marianne next year. Guys, we have a real opportunity here. It's not just the left that is frustrated with Biden. Of course the left is frustrated with Biden. It is normie Democrats who are frustrated with Joe Biden. Normie Democrats. Also, independents and moderates who might not like Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or whichever Republican it's going to be. She has a real opportunity here. Now, I'm not saying she's the favorite. I'm not saying she's going to win. Of course, I don't know that. And of course, it would be absurd to say she's the favorite. But I will say, you fight as a matter of principle. Marianne Williamson is a trillion times better candidate than Joe Biden is. And you find the meaning and the purpose in the fight to get her elected. We know it's an uphill battle. We know it's difficult. But that's why you do it. That's why you engage. Because what's the other option? Sit out, be nihilistic, pretend like you're above it all, and then actively will into existence your prediction that this is going to go nowhere and she's going to collapse and it's done. What's the point of even fighting? Well, again, that's why I say you fight as a matter of principle. You say, I know this person would be better than Joe Biden. I know her heart's in the right place. I know she's going to fight for stuff like $15 minimum wage, getting money out of politics, getting universal health care, etc. And so you fight as a matter of principle. And even if you don't get to the finish line, at least you left it all out there on the field. I don't know about you guys. That's the only way I'd be able to sleep at night, is knowing, hey, we did everything we could to get somebody better than Biden in there. And just prepare yourself. There's going to be a lot of smears. There's going to be a lot of condescension and derision. There's going to be a lot of unserious. Use that as fuel. Use it as fuel. And the onus will be on Marianne Williamson to not just consolidate the left and get the left together, but also reach normie Democrats as well as independents and moderates. Because this can't just be, a niche campaign that's preaching to the choir. This has to be the kind of a campaign that can mount a serious challenge and can actually change the country for the better. So we've already seen colossal missteps from Joe Biden. He ain't getting any younger, and his numbers are really make him vulnerable, let's say. His numbers really make him vulnerable. So I got my eye on this, and I'm excited for what's to come. And I will try my absolute best. I'll tell you guys my bias up front, right? Like, I prefer Marianne to Biden, of course. But I will also do my best to call balls and strikes and just give facts and information to keep everybody educated on what's happening. And that is not something you're going to see from the mainstream media. They're already engaged in the smear campaign. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.